I'm terrified of change. And the only thing I'm almost more scared of is the only thing I'm more scared of is not changing. I'm frozen right now.
Jeremy Ivester is a transgender man.
Today I wanted to talk about gender dynamics. Raising awareness is key.
Who has chronicled his transition over the years with a video diary.
I had too much to say, and I was not very fast at typing. And so I would just record myself.
His mother, Jo Ivester, is writing a book called Once a Girl, Always a Boy, about her son's journey.
I've said to Jeremy, I would like to make your story my next book. Can I have your permission to write about you? Because I think that we can make a difference. Jeremy's journey had been full of joy. It's something that other families need to see. If we can use our personal story as a way of building awareness, that will contribute to acceptance.
The mother and son are writing the book together.
I was already thinking about my own gender identity.
Jo is using Jeremy's video journal as his voice in the book.
He's continued to make his videos.
It was a very jarring transition for me from elementary school to middle school.
Sometimes he just talks about whatever subject he's picked. Sometimes I'll send him an email and say, hey, can you talk about what it was like playing football in middle school?
I was a receiver in flag football.
We'll give him some other topic, and sometimes we'll sit down together in front of the computer and I'll interview him.
We'd rollerblade, we would play football in the yard. I was definitely one of the guys, but I would just wish that I would wake up a boy.
It was in middle school where Jeremy noticed he didn't fit in with his peers anymore.
I lost my social group because all the little boys that I had grown up playing with just couldn't handle hanging out with a girl. They didn't know how to treat me. Here I am just so confused because I didn't understand why I couldn't continue to fill this role that I'd filled my entire life. The girls weren't really any better. They were perfectly happy to let me sit with them at lunch, but as soon as they wanted to talk about anything personal, as soon as they wanted to gossip or talk about their bodies, or I don't actually know what they talked about because they would literally send me away. And they'd make me leave because I was too much like a boy, and somehow that meant that I would betray their secrets.
Jeremy, from a very early age, wanted to associate with boys and do boys' things, and we didn't think a lot of that because we were trying to raise a child that was not, that had all options open to the child and not constrained by gender expectations.
When Jeremy was 18, he had a heart-to-heart talk with his parents, telling them he was not gay or straight. It wasn't until he was about to turn 24 that he realized he was transgender.
It's so ridiculous that at the time I couldn't just say what I was feeling, but I was terrified of disappointing people. And had more people known that transgender was a thing, they would have seen signs and said, hey, if you want to do this, you can do that. And I would have been like, yeah.
The hardest part has been recognizing that we could have given Jeremy more in his adolescence than we did. As open and understanding as we tried to be as parents, we did not have the knowledge, the awareness, the understanding to help him see as a child, as a teenager, who he is. And it's an opportunity lost.
Jeremy really has always been a good person, has always been a righteous person, has always cared about people and wanted to do the right thing. But the happiness was always a little bit of a question. And now he seems very, very comfortable because the source of his unhappiness was just that he was uncomfortable with himself.
I think it's really important to show that transition doesn't have to be this life or death situation. It can be so happy and so joyful and this really positive experience.
At age 27, Jeremy is now embracing his authentic self with confidence and joy.
I can't regret my life. All of it has shaped me to be the person I am, and I think I am more empathetic and more accepting and more loving because of the amount of self-reflection I've had to do to figure out what's going on. I think self-reflection is really powerful. Understanding yourself is really powerful.
The weight that seems to be off of Jeremy's shoulders once he made the decision and went through the transition has been just delightful to watch.
Seeing how joyful Jeremy is now that he can live his life the way he wants to live it, look the way he wants to look, be the man he wants to be. There is so much joy tied to that. That's the best part.
Discrimination is not a Texas value. Embrace dignity and respect for every Texan. Join Equality Texas.